When we talk about health and performance, most people think about training regimens, nutrition plans, supplements, or sleep schedules. All of those matter, no doubt, but what often gets overlooked, and yet is fundamental, is the role of belief. The way you think about your own abilities, your own limitations, and even the way you interpret what's happening inside your body profoundly influences how your body responds. This isn't just philosophy. This is biology. Think about this. Your brain is not sitting on the sidelines simply observing what you go through. It's constantly interpreting signals, assigning meaning to them, and then broadcasting instructions to the rest of your body. Those instructions can shift your hormone levels, your immune system function, your heart rate, your energy availability, even your perception of fatigue. The common thread is that your mindset, your beliefs about what's happening, can act as a switch that tilts those systems toward either hindering you or helping you. We've all had the experience of being exhausted, dragging ourselves into a workout, and then suddenly feeling a second wind kick in when a song comes on, or when someone encourages us. Did your muscles suddenly refill with glycogen? No. What changed was the way your brain interpreted the situation. That shift in interpretation allowed your body to release energy it was already holding back. That's the power of belief in real time. Now, some might say, isn't this just placebo? Yes, but let's be clear about what placebo actually means. Placebo isn't fake. It's your brain leveraging expectation to change your physiology. Studies have shown that if you believe you've consumed caffeine, your alertness, focus, and even your endurance can increase even if the drink contained no caffeine. If you believe a certain therapy will reduce pain, your brain releases endogenous opioids that actually reduce pain. Belief is biology, but it cuts both ways. Negative beliefs can become barriers. If you're convinced that stress will break you down, your body amplifies that expectation. If you believe you're fragile, you're more likely to behave in ways that confirm it. The brain is always predicting and preparing. So when your mindset leans toward limitation, your biology adapts in that direction. The exciting part is this: beliefs are not fixed, they can be reshaped. Mindset is like a lens. If the lens is scratched or smudged, it distorts reality. But you can clean that lens, you can swap it, and suddenly you're seeing possibilities where before you saw threats. This is where performance truly opens up. Athletes who approach competition with the belief that their nerves are fuel, not a liability, consistently perform better under pressure. Patients who believe their body can heal often recover faster, not because they're lucky, but because their biology is aligning with their mindset. Even in everyday life, if you view challenges as opportunities to adapt, your brain circuits respond differently. Neurons wire and rewire in ways that support growth rather than avoidance. What this all means is that cultivating belief is not optional, it's foundational. If you're trying to improve your health or your performance without addressing mindset, it's like trying to build a house without a foundation. You might get a few walls up, but it won't hold under stress. So as we move forward into stress, recovery, growth, and all the other aspects of performance, remember this: your biology is not separate from your psychology. The two are intertwined in every moment. And if there's one lever you can start pulling right now without equipment, without supplements, without anything external, it's the way you choose to believe about yourself and what's possible. Because in the end, your belief is not just a thought, it's a signal. And that signal is the very first step in turning potential into reality. Most of us have been told our whole lives that stress is bad, that it shortens lifespan, weakens immunity, wrecks sleep, and grinds down performance. And it's true, stress can do those things, but here's the catch: stress isn't inherently destructive. It's your relationship to stress that determines whether it breaks you down or builds you up. Stress, in fact, is a tool. And like any tool, it can either harm you or serve you, depending on how you use it. What is stress, really? At its core, stress is your body mobilizing energy to meet a demand. That's it. Heart rate goes up, breathing rate goes up, Blood vessels constrict or dilate to push oxygen where it's needed. Glucose gets released into your bloodstream, so your muscles and brain have fuel. Those aren't signs of something going wrong. They are signs of your biology preparing you to respond. Stress is the activation of your body's internal performance system. The problem comes in how we interpret those signals. If you feel your heart pounding and tell yourself, "This is bad, I'm falling apart," your brain takes that interpretation as truth. It compounds the stress response, flooding your system with cortisol in ways that make you anxious, tunnel, visioned, and ultimately less effective. But if you feel that same pounding heart and tell yourself, "This is my body gearing up, this is fuel," the biology shifts. The same stress hormones now sharpen focus, improve blood flow to the brain, and actually increase resilience. The stress itself didn't change. You did. There are studies where people were taught to reframe their stress response before a big exam or a high-pressure event. Instead of trying to calm down or push the feelings away, they were told to view their racing heart and shallow breath as helpful as preparation. What happened? Their performance improved, their anxiety dropped, and even their cardiovascular profiles looked healthier. Simply shifting the mindset around stress changed the biology in real time. Athletes know this intuitively. Before stepping onto a field or into an arena, they don't expect to feel calm. They expect to feel elevated, nerves buzzing, body humming. That state is part of performance. The difference is they've trained themselves to see it as readiness, not weakness. And in doing so, they harness stress rather than fear it. But this isn't just for athletes. In daily life, stress is unavoidable. Work deadlines, difficult conversations, unexpected challenges, they're all stressors. You can't eliminate them. What you can eliminate is the narrative that stress is purely harmful. By shifting the interpretation, stress transforms from a threat into an ally. That shift has ripple effects: lower long-term cortisol damage, greater cardiovascular health, improved focus, and more resilience when setbacks happen. It's also important to note that stress followed by recovery is how growth happens. Whether it's lifting weights, learning a new skill, or navigating life challenges, the cycle is always the same: stressor, adaptation, recovery. Without stress, there's no trigger for change. Without recovery, there's no consolidation of growth. Together, they create resilience. This is why avoiding stress altogether isn't the answer. It's about learning to step into stress with the right mindset, then deliberately stepping out to recover. Stress teaches your system how to expand its capacity. Recovery locks in the adaptation. That's how the body, the brain, and even your character evolve. So the next time you feel stress, before a presentation, during a tough workout, when life throws a curveball, notice the signals. Instead of telling yourself, "This is bad," try saying, "This is energy, this is fuel." That single reframe can change the entire trajectory of the moment and, over time, the trajectory of your health and performance. Because stress isn't your enemy. Stress is your body handing you the keys to unlock more of yourself if you choose to drive it in the right direction. One of the most fascinating and sometimes unsettling aspects of the mind-body connection is how much our expectations shape real, measurable outcomes. We often think of the placebo effect as a kind of medical trick, almost like a sugar pill fooling the brain. But the truth is far more powerful. Expectation itself can trigger biological cascades that change pain, healing, mood, and even performance. Placebo is not deception, it's evidence that belief can unlock the body's own pharmacy. Consider pain, one of the most fundamental signals our body sends. In controlled studies, people given an inert pill but told it was a powerful painkiller often reported significant relief. Brain scans confirmed that their neural circuits were releasing endorphins and endogenous opioids, the same chemicals triggered by actual pain medications. Their expectation wasn't just creating an illusion, it was producing a chemical reality. And here's the twist: when people were told they might be receiving a drug that causes side effects, Many actually experienced those negative symptoms even if they had taken nothing. That's the nocebo effect, the destructive twin of placebo. Negative expectations can literally make the body suffer. This isn't limited to clinical settings. It shows up in performance and health all the time. If someone believes a workout will break them down or leave them depleted, their fatigue levels go up, their recovery feels slower, and their performance can dip. If someone believes a meal is unhealthy, even if it's the exact same food presented differently, their metabolism and hunger hormones respond less favorably. The framing, the belief, becomes part of the biological equation. It's not hard to see how this applies to stress, which we just talked about. Expect stress to kill you, and it chips away at your health. Expect stress to fuel you, and it builds resilience. The expectation sets the stage, and your biology plays out the script. This is why mind sets matter so deeply, not because they magically override reality, but because they influence the pathways your body chooses in response to reality. Now, the danger here is that people might hear this and think it's all just in the mind, but that misses the point. Expectation effects are not illusions. They are mediated by concrete biological mechanisms, neurotransmitter release, hormone shifts, changes in immune signaling. When you expect healing, your brain ramps up repair systems. When you expect decline, it dampens them. It's not magic. It's the predictive coding of the brain influencing the physiology of the body. Think about what this means for performance. Athletes who believe their training program is specifically designed for them, even if it's generic, often perform better than those who think they're doing a standard protocol. Students who believe their memory can improve with practice show measurable gains in brain plasticity. In both cases, the expectation primes the system to adapt. Belief, in other words, acts like a catalyst. But just as powerful is the need to guard against nocebo. If you tell yourself you're fragile, or that every setback is proof of decline, you create conditions where your biology cooperates with that belief. That's why it's so critical to curate not only what you believe, but the environment and language that shape those beliefs. A doctor's words, a coach's feedback, even the way we talk to ourselves can tip the balance between placebo and nocebo. The lesson here isn't that belief replaces effort. You still have to do the work, train, eat well, rest, adapt. But your mindset can either multiply those efforts or undercut them. The placebo effect shows us the ceiling is higher than we think. The nocebo effect shows us the floor can drop lower than it needs to, which means our job is to set expectations in a way that lifts biology upward, not drags it down. Because every thought carries weight, and when it comes to health and performance, expectation doesn't just predict outcomes, it helps create them. One of the most powerful levers we have for shaping both health and performance is the mindset we bring to learning and growth. At the heart of this is the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A fixed mindset assumes that abilities, intelligence, or talent are set in stone. You either have them or you don't. A growth mindset sees those same qualities as adaptable, capable of being developed through effort, strategy, and persistence. And this distinction is not just motivational jargon, it maps directly onto the biology of how the brain and body adapt. Neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to rewire itself based on experience, is the biological foundation of growth. Every time you challenge yourself, practice a skill, or push your body in training, neurons fire, synapses strengthen, and circuits literally reshape. But here's the catch: plasticity is gated by mindset. If you believe your efforts can produce change, your brain engages those adaptive circuits more readily. If you believe you're stuck, the brain doesn't bother to allocate the same energy toward rewiring. In a very real sense, what you believe about your own capacity sets the limits for how much change your biology is willing to pursue. This shows up vividly in studies on learning. Students who were taught that intelligence could grow with practice actually performed better on challenging tasks, showed greater motivation, and improved their grades compared to those who believed intelligence was fixed. The belief didn't give them new neurons, but it unlocked their willingness to engage, which in turn activated the plasticity that reshaped their neural networks. The same is true for athletes, musicians, even patients recovering from injury. If they lean into growth as a process, adaptation accelerates. If they see ability as fixed, they hit walls earlier and stay there, and this goes beyond skills. It applies to stress, to recovery, to setbacks. With a fixed mindset, stress is a sign that you're not cut out for the task. With a growth mindset, stress is evidence that your system is being challenged in ways that will lead to adaptation. With a fixed mindset, failure is proof of inadequacy. With a growth mindset, failure is information, feedback to adjust and improve. That simple reframing changes not only the psychology, but the biology of how your body responds. Stress hormones shift, dopamine release changes, even immune function tilts toward greater resilience. It's also important to recognize that growth mindset is not about blind optimism. It's not pretending everything is easy. It's about accepting that effort, strategy, and persistence genuinely change outcomes over time. It's about understanding that every rep in the gym, every focused session of study, every attempt after a stumble is literally reshaping the circuits of your brain and body. It's not positive thinking, it's applied neuroscience. What's especially powerful is how growth mindset feeds into motivation. When you believe your actions matter, the brain's dopamine system, the system that tracks progress and fuels pursuit, lights up more readily. Small wins feel more meaningful, setbacks feel less catastrophic, and the drive to keep going becomes self-sustaining. That's why people with a growth mindset often show more grit, more perseverance, and ultimately more success, even when starting with fewer resources or less talent. And here's the beautiful part, adopting a growth mindset is itself a skill. It can be trained. You can notice when you're telling yourself, I'm just not good at this, and shift toward, I'm not good at this yet. That one word, yet signals to your brain that plasticity is on the table, that the effort you put in will matter. Over time, those shifts accumulate. Your brain learns to expect growth, and in doing so, it allocates resources toward making growth a reality. So as you think about your health, your performance, your learning, remember this, you're not fixed. Your brain and body are designed to change in response to challenge. The question is whether your mindset opens that door or keeps it locked. Because every time you choose growth, you don't just change what you can do, you change who you are becoming. When we think about exercise, nutrition, and recovery, the default conversation is usually about what to do, how many sets and reps, which foods to eat, how many hours of sleep. Those details matter, but just like with stress and growth, the way we frame them in our minds determines how the body responds. The mindset you bring into these practices can amplify their benefits or diminish them. In other words, it's not just what you do, it's how you think about what you're doing. Take exercise. Two people can perform the exact same workout and walk away with very different outcomes, not because of genetic differences, but because of how they perceive the activity. If you see exercise as punishment, something you have to do, it changes the hormonal environment, elevates stress responses, and makes the effort feel heavier than it actually is. But if you view the exact same workout as a chance to grow stronger, to build resilience, or to invest in your future self, your physiology shifts. Dopamine is released in anticipation, endorphins follow effort, and recovery processes activate more efficiently. Same movement, same calories burned, but a radically different biological impact based on mindset. Nutrition follows the same principle. Food is not just fuel, it's information for your biology, but how you interpret that food matters. Studies have shown that people who believed they were eating a high-calorie, indulgent milkshake experienced a much stronger satiety hormone response than those who believed the exact same shake was diet or low-calorie, their bodies released more leptin and ghrelin adjusted differently, all because of expectation. If you view food as restrictive, as deprivation, your body amplifies cravings and reduces satisfaction. But if you see food as nourishment, as energy for growth and performance, your body aligns with that message. The nutrients don't just enter your system, they interact with the meaning you assign to them. Recovery is perhaps the most overlooked area where mindset plays a decisive role. Many people struggle with rest because they view it as weakness or as wasted time. But recovery is not passive, it's active. It's the phase where adaptation actually takes place. Muscles grow, neurons consolidate learning, immune systems reset. When you approach recovery with the mindset that it's an investment, not a retreat, your parasympathetic nervous system engages more fully. Heart rate variability improves, sleep quality deepens, tissue repair accelerates. If you see recovery as indulgence, you rob yourself of those benefits. If you see it as growth, you unlock its full power. This interplay between perception and physiology highlights something essential. Health practices don't exist in isolation from mindset. The workout, the meal, the night of sleep, they're not just physical acts, they're also psychological experiences. And because the brain is constantly interpreting and predicting, those experiences are filtered through belief before the body acts on them. This doesn't mean you can think your way out of poor choices. You can't frame junk food as nutritious and suddenly trick your biology into thriving. You still need the right inputs, but within the range of healthy behaviors, your mindset determines whether those inputs hit with full force or with diminished effect. So, as you structure your approach to health, consider both the external and the internal. Don't just ask, "What am I doing?" Ask, "How am I thinking about what I'm doing?" Because the framing you bring to exercise, nutrition, and recovery either locks in their benefits or leaves potential on the table. If you want to maximize health and performance, you need more than just discipline and routine. You need the right lens. Because when you frame every rep, every meal, and every night of sleep as an opportunity, your body doesn't just go through the motions. It adapts, it grows, it thrives. Because the truth is simple, the story you tell yourself about your health is the signal your body listens to most. Up to this point, we've looked at belief, stress, expectation, growth, and how mindset shapes exercise, nutrition, and recovery, but none of that matters unless it translates into daily practice. The science is clear. Small, deliberate shifts in mindset compound over time into lasting changes in health and performance. The challenge is learning how to apply these shifts in the moments that matter, moments of stress, fatigue, doubt, or decision. One of the most powerful tools is language. The words you use with yourself are not neutral. They shape perception, which shapes physiology. Telling yourself, "I have to work out," cues resistance and stress. Saying, "I get to work out," cues gratitude and energy. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," try, "I'm being prepared to handle more." Those subtle shifts aren't about pretending everything is easy. They're about orienting your brain toward growth and opportunity instead of threat and limitation. Visualization is another simple but potent tool. The brain doesn't perfectly distinguish between imagined experience and real experience. Athletes who visualize their performance activate many of the same neural circuits as those who physically practice. Patients who visualize healing show faster recovery markers. When you mentally rehearse success or picture yourself navigating stress effectively, you're not just playing make believe. You're priming your brain and body to act accordingly when the real moment comes. Reframing is also crucial. Stress feels overwhelming when it's seen as a sign of failure, but when reframed as readiness, as your body mobilizing energy, it becomes fuel. Fatigue during a workout can be reframed as your body adapting, not as weakness. A setback at work can be reframed as feedback, not as evidence of incompetence. Reframing doesn't erase difficulty, but it changes the context in which your biology interprets it. That context is what determines whether stress chemistry helps you rise to the occasion or drags you down. Self-talk strategies extend this even further. Research shows that when people refer to themselves in the third person, "You can handle this," instead of "I can handle this," they reduce stress reactivity and improve decision making under pressure. It creates a little bit of distance between you and the challenge, which helps the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that governs rational thought, stay online when emotions are running high. That's a tool you can use anytime, anywhere. Equally important is environment. Surround yourself with people, cues, and practices that reinforce the mindset you want. If you spend time with people who see stress as growth, who view recovery as strength, who believe in adaptability, those beliefs become contagious. If you set up your environment with reminders, post-it notes, mantras, playlists, you anchor your mindset in your daily surroundings. The brain is highly context-dependent. Use that to your advantage, and don't overlook the role of deliberate reflection. Take a few minutes at the end of each day to ask, where did my mindset serve me? Where did it hold me back? What can I reframe tomorrow? That practice of awareness itself strengthens the neural circuits for adaptability. Over time, it builds a habit of catching limiting beliefs before they take root and replacing them with more effective ones. The goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. You don't need to reframe every thought or visualize every outcome. You just need to practice enough that these tools become second nature. Because the real power of mindset is not in isolated moments, it's in the cumulative effect of thousands of small choices, each one shaping your biology, your performance, and your health. So as you leave here and think about your own routines, your workouts, your meals, your stressors, your recovery, ask yourself, not just what am I doing, but how am I thinking about it? Then choose the language, the frame, the tools that tilt biology in your favor, because the truth is, mind, it isn't something you either have or don't have, it's something you train.